Hey guys!
Welcome back to our channel. We read
Peach Blossom Spring by Melissa Fu. So this is a book that takes place in China during World War II, and it follows a young boy named Renshu and his mom, Meilin. So they get pushed around a ton while they're in China trying to flee the Japanese occupation in their country, and eventually get pushed down to Taiwan, where he spends most of his teenage years. Eventually, he ends up getting accepted into Northwestern University in America, and he goes to live there. As he's at university at Northwestern, he meets his future wife, Rachel. They move around for work and end up settling in the Midwest, where they have their daughter, Lily. Lily and now Henry have a falling out because he does not like talking about his heritage and she just doesn't feel connected to it. But after years of tension, they mend their relationship and Henry can finally have the happy family he's always wanted.
First, we're going to look at picture 1. Here's a quick overview.
So the first picture depicts Renshu and Meilin fleeing to interior China. We position this picture so that we're almost looking over Renshu's shoulder as if putting ourselves in his shoes.
Now let's get into deeper detail. Meilin is a bright green. We chose this color because of her caring nature. She cares for Renshu in a time where it's very dangerous and hard and becomes a beacon of hope for him. Even though she's fighting her own struggles, she manages to get Renshu to safety, being his safe place and home.
So another part of this picture is, if you notice, along the path that Renshu and Meilin are walking down, it is lined with kerosene lamps. Throughout the book, kerosene lamps are used almost as a symbol of safety and home for them, and they're constantly brought up when they go to new places. We chose to include a broken lamp and one lit lamp, just to represent all the hardships that they have to face and all the unsafe times they have to go through, but also the fact that they are able to find safety and home and family through these really tough times.
Now we have the Japanese plane. You can see it up in the sky. We chose this because it shows the current power struggle in China, and it shows just the unsafe environment Renshu was made to live in. It also shows just how much hardship Meilin had to go through to keep Renshu okay.
And then the last main thing in this picture is on the right side, and it's all the rubble and almost the broken down building you can see there. So during the book, it starts off with their house burning down, and then also one of the towns they were staying in as they were fleeing was consistently getting air raided and bombed. And so we added the broken down house and all the rubble just to sort of depict and just really show the conditions and stuff that they had to go through as they were going through this war. So now we're going to move on to our second picture.
The second picture depicts when Renshu, now Henry Dow, moves to America to attend Northwestern University. At university, he meets a lot of people, but doesn't want to associate with them, except for one girl. He can't take his eyes off of her. During this time at university, we also get a taste of how the events of his past affect him now.
So in this picture, we decided to include a man smoking and an airplane. These two things represent when Henry had a flashback to when he was living through the war. What happened was he woke up to smoke outside his window, and this sent him into a traumatic episode. He ran out of his room saying that the place was on fire, everyone needed to evacuate, and he thought that they were being possibly bombed. Obviously, they were in America, and this wasn't happening, and he finally did get settled down. But this episode here is just the start of how we get to see how the war and growing up in those conditions truly affected Henry on a really deep level. And this is just the tip of the iceberg into how it's going to play throughout his life.
In it, we also see a bright pink Rachel and silhouettes of blacked out others. This being depictions of the people in his life. Rachel is bright pink because it depicts love, happiness, and hope. It shows us that he's leading on his way to love, happiness, and marriage. We also see how the black silhouettes are the people in his life that he didn't want to associate with. The other Asian Americans, or Asians, that he did not want anything to do with to keep his mom safe at home from the Communist Party. Now we're moving on to picture number 3.
So a quick overview of picture number 3. It is the final picture that we have, and it just depicts the end of the road for Henry, and he's with his family, the people that he loves. So in this picture, we decided to show Henry's family. We have Rachel, his wife, Lily, his daughter, Tony, his daughter's husband, and the spirit of Malin. Compared to the last picture, when all the silhouettes were black and dark, and they represented people that he didn't want to associate with, in this one, we decided to make the silhouettes bright and happy, because that's what they make him feel. So now we have a couple concepts that went through all 3 pictures, and we are going to describe them now. So the first one that we have is this very large peach blossom tree that spans all the way over all 3 of our pictures. So this tree we used to represent Renshu/Henry through different points in his life. In the first picture, you can see that the tree looks dead and there's no leaves on it. So this is when he was going through the war, and life was very uncertain at that time. And the tree with no leaves, no nothing on it, looking dead, is representing of Henry and kind of his mental state. In the second picture, we move on to the tree with it blooming. In the second picture, he is starting university. He's just moved to America. He's in this whole new time of his life, which is very different to what he grew up to. And having it blooming is kind of like him in his mind blooming, opening up to this whole new experience that he has. And then finally, in the third picture, happiest picture of them all, we have the tree fully bloomed in its beauty, and that is what Henry feels inside. He's made it through this life, he's mended his relationship with his daughter, he has his wife, all these people there with him, and the tree is really reflective of how far he's come and who he is as a person.
Then we also have the paths. They all symbolize Renshu/Henry moving on in life, always moving forward to a better place, and finally ending to his happiest. The first picture, we don't see an end. The second, we see it going into college and through that part of his life. The last, we see an end, and it's stopping at the table. We also have the main people on each path. On the first one, we have Malin. She's the brightest in that picture, and she's nearing the end because she's leading Renshu through that part of his life to safety. The second picture, we have Rachel. She's the brightest because she shows his love, and that's what's pushing him forward. In the last, we have Lily. She's sitting at the table and beckoning Renshu over to come and have dinner with them outside in his happiest.
So the third one that we have recurring through all the pictures is the lamps. In the first picture, it starts with our kerosene lamps that are hanging, one of which is lit, one of which is broken. Those really just represent the uncertainty in Renshu's life at that time. It was the war, they didn't know how it was going to end, they saw all this death and destruction around them. And so having those 2 lamps kind of represent almost the life and death mentality that they had throughout that time. In the second picture, we had lamps in the windows at the college, but they were just kind of regular, more Americanized lamps, and we added those in because the lamps in the beginning really represented safety and home, and having the lamps there, even though he was safe in America, he didn't exactly feel at home. And so those are what those ones really represented. And then finally, in the third picture, we added another kerosene lamp hanging from a branch. And that is because, once again, he felt safe, he felt at home, and he was with his family. And that, through the beginning parts of the book, is really what the kerosene lamps represented. And that's why we decided to add one in our last picture.
Lastly, we have the colors. The colors are very meaningful. We have a gradient going from darkest to lightest. We also have the main people in each picture going and being the brightest main focal point of the picture. In the first one, we have very muted colors and a dark atmosphere to showcase the unsettling and unsafe environment they're currently in. We have Malin as the brightest because she's the one leading Renshu to safety. She's the one that he feels the most at home with. We then have, in the second one, slightly brighter colors, and we have a good contrast between light and dark in the people in the photos. We have Rachel as the brightest because that's who's leading him through that part of his life, and that's who's most important. We then have the other people in the picture who are dark because those are people he doesn't really like. In the third, we have the brightest colors. Everything in that picture is bright, but mainly Lily. Lily's the one leading him to the table, beckoning him over. We have her the brightest because she's his biggest point of happiness in this part of the book in his life. Last, we have the meaning. We specifically use the framing of behind his back so the viewers can put themselves in Renshu's shoes, making them see the world through his eyes. As a kid that went through war, an immigrant in America, and then finally a man with a family. Thank you so much for watching.
And we hope you enjoyed Peach Blossom Spring as much as we did.
Bye!